situation where you find that they look like the same.
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
Welcome back to Daybreak on Trust TV. Time to look at the papers now to bring you up to speed with some of the stories making the headlines across some select national dailies as we navigate the stories that has been reported today. And as is customary, we start with the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper for today. Beginning from the very top, Nigerian flag designer Michael Akinwumi dies at age 87. I saw that story yesterday, and just brings you back the memories of how patriotic we used to be about, some of these things, whether it's the national anthem, the coat of arms, or perhaps even the design of the green, white, green flag, which has become symbolic of our identity as a nation.
I hope he's given a state burial.
Yeah.
And certain privileges are cut because there were stories in recent times of how the man has been living in abject
penury.
Penury
is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And he's a national hero.
Yes, if
because
we
that green, white,
him
green
alive,
flag.
I hope we do well to honor him now in death.
Yeah. Okay, in other news, brain drain, Nigerian doctors earn $4,000 as wages in Gambia and Sierra Leone, according to CMDs. I know you were saying something a little earlier about this really makes a lot of sense.
Yes, I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Seriously. You get well taken care of, you get respectable remuneration, not just respectable, it makes economic sense. $4,000 in Nigerian currency is an unimaginable amount. No doctor earns this much in this country, I can tell you that. Reps fume as agency spends 81 billion to plant 21 million trees in the north. I think it's with regards to the investigation into the Green Wall project. Page 5 has more on that story. But the big story is talking about the coup in Gabon. Tinubu says contagious autocracy spreading in Africa. Murik warns Nigerian military against emulated Gabonese army. They say, you look around and you gauge the mood of your neighbor, and you will do well to take precaution. But Murik is sounding the alarm, even though the defense headquarters had come out weeks ago to say that, listen, they're not interested in all these coup attempts. But it remains to be seen also. Coupists say why we overthrew Bongo. Of course, there's the issue of the election, the corruption in Gabon, and how the situation of the economy is not particularly making life better for Gabonese. Commonwealth says coup deeply concerning. Make noise. I've been arrested. Bongo begs friends for help. I also feel it was a very mediocre attempt.
We are making the noise.
Yeah.
He didn't say
but it
what
was
kind
also
of noise.
a very mediocre attempt to get the world's attention. I feel he could have said a lot more, but that's what the ousted president had to say.
If
at
noise
the
was
moment.
anything, Bozon would have been back in power.
Exactly. Gabonese celebrate fall of Bongo's 53-year dynasty. More on this story on page 4. And Naira continues free fall as NNPC, a Frexim $3 billion loan deal drags. So apparently it has not been finalized yet. A lot of noise was made around that signing of the deal, but on page 24 of the Daily Trust newspaper, you'll find more on why that has not yet been completed. Man arrested for hacking 100-year-old father to death over 70,000 Naira. I mean, it is disheartening enough that he has killed his father, who is too old to actually defend himself. But then again, you hear there's over 70,000 Naira, and it's just ridiculous what people would do for money. Monthly revenue from Abuja Kaduna train service drops from 500 million Naira to 1 million Naira, according to the NRC. You talk about the impact of insecurity. This is it in monetary terms. We're losing 499 million Naira on a monthly basis because people are traveling less through the use of our trains. And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with Group Chairman, United Bank of Africa, and founder Tony Elumelu Foundation during a visit at the State House. And finally, 3 months after, websites of FCTA, Education, Justice retain Bello Adamu Malami as ministers, and Trade, Humanitarian, Water and Women's Ministries also joining on board. Experts, international investors, partners won't take us serious, according to experts. Yeah. I mean, there's a new sheriff in town. I'm sure that the federal, the website...
The sheriffs in charge of the websites have gone to sleep, maybe.
Yeah. Or perhaps they're calling for... maybe it's a cry for help.
Well,
maybe it's a cry for help. But this is highly irregular. I mean, the ministers have been around for weeks now, for at least 2 weeks now.
The website is the first point of call for somebody sitting outside this country. I
mean, you talk about investors. Where do they go to? Before they know anybody, they go to the website. And they see that it's not been updated. They say... These people are not serious, sure.
I wouldn't be shocked that if I had a federal government website, it would still be bearing the
President Buhari? I doubt. Because that person would definitely lose his job.
All right, moving on to First News. And we have there as the major story, the incident in Gabon. In some journalism class, this can be touted as Afghanistanism. We think there's so much going on in this climate to be thinking of dedicating your major headline to what is going on. But that's what they have. Variety, they say, is the spice of life. Cool, my wife's son missing. Gabonese president cries out. Begs for freedom as junta detains him, arrests son for treason. Gabonese celebrate downfall of Bongo's 53-year dynasty. We are working with AU leaders for consensus response, Tinubu. Don't copy Gabon. Murik warns Nigeria. Well, okay. Let's see. Full text of Gabon coupist takeover speech. We are all abreast with this development by now. Economy. Tinubu repeating Buhari's mistake. SDP presidential candidate. You want to know what those mistakes are? You pick up today's copy of First News. Osun APC expels Aregbesol's faction ex-chair. Adele case 8, 81 orders. And there the story of how Nigeria's flag designer Taiwo Akinkunmi died. And two other stories, Gabon citizens celebrating the end of President Ali Bongo's reign and 53-year rule of his family in the country's capital, Libreville, on Wednesday. It was a massive jubilation across all international media yesterday. I mean, it started from the night when the announcement broke out all through yesterday. It was basically like a fiesta of some sort in Libreville. And like you said, it's just...
If I were him, I wouldn't want to come back to power.
If he had to see the scenes before taking up that video, I'm sure the messaging would have been different. Well, he's called on his international friends, not the Gabonese, to make some noise.
Interesting.
And I'm sure they are making some noise. Nobody can suspend me from PDP. This is coming from Wiki, who is blowing hot everywhere. Says, I am working for Tinubu, not APC. Nigerians will have voted Peter Obi if he was better than Tinubu, the FCT minister says. Yes, well, this is always known for this kind of this. And to other story, Monaco signs Balogun from Arsenal in a £34 million deal. And finally, alleged impeachment court fixes date for judgment in Philip Shaibu and Obaseki.
It's very embarrassing what's happening in Edo.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, let's turn our attention now finally to the business day and take a look at some business stories. Pricier imported seeds open window for local firms. What is this story all about? It continues on page 2, so take a look at the story if you're interested. Nigerians buy fuel-efficient cars, drive less to work. What is this story about? Clearly, it's talking about fuel efficiency, and we all know some of the brands that are available out there. Also on the front page of the Business Day, 190 billion now on claimed dividends and how to get yours. Are you one of those, Mr. Sunday? Anyway.
We're talking about school fees, yeah.
Okay, maybe you have an unclaimed dividend. Okay, you should claim it.
Not one that I'm aware of, but well, if it comes, I won't reject it.
Okay, Gabon gets transitional president. Tinubu seeks AU consensus on response. More on this on page 31. And you have the unmistakable image of Governor Adeleke there, who is in conversation with Oyenike Monica Okundaye, the curator of the Nike Art Gallery in Lagos yesterday. All right, that's all for now.
All right, we now have joining us in the studio, as usual, the editor-in-chief, Deadline newspaper, Malan Nasrallah, somehow his hunches were correct today. He managed to evade Abdullah in terms of his choice of color. So he's lucky today. I'm not sure what next week will look like. Let's continue to see how that Ashwebi continue to pounce out in the studio.
Right.
We've had a lot of conversations around what has happened in Gabon. We will not bore you so much with that so that we can make good use of the time we have Malan Nasr in the studio. And I don't mean Nasr El-Rufai. Just about a fortnight ago, we had the NNPC broke the story on the $3 billion deal with Afrexim. It elicited a lot of excitement. In fact, we saw a downward trend in the parallel foreign exchange market in anticipation for what was supposed to be the critical volume that market has lacked in recent days. And suddenly everywhere went quiet. If anything, the Naira has continued its free fall. What did you make, what do you make of what has become the tendency for government agencies to prematurely announce deals even before they are consummated, raise expectations, and then dash everything at the end of it?
Well, actually, that's the problem you have with spur of the moment kind of statements. Because what actually happened, the government was under pressure, from both the players in the forex market and then the oil marketers. So they needed something to reassure Nigerians, so that at least they will put a stop to the downward spiral of the Naira. And but from what we are seeing, it's clear, it's something that was not concluded. It's something that was still in the pipeline, to use the Nigerian. That's the problem they had. They didn't wait for it to mature before announcing it to Nigerians. And then the problem they are likely to have with this is next time they come up with announcements like this, Nigerians may not believe them because they will say you made the same announcement in the past and nothing changed.
I think I'll be right to say that this announcement was made before JP Morgan's statement on the state of our foreign reserve.
It was about the same time.
It was about the same time. Yeah. But was it also designed to mislead in a way? Because we do know that deals like this, they don't happen overnight, right? And like you did say, it was like counting your chickens before they hatch. It did have some sort of goodwill, good spin in the news circle. We thought, okay, I think there would be some sort of balancing act for quite some time because $3 billion is a lot of money, by the way. But do you also think that, it's by design? And do you also think that there's something structurally that needs to be addressed before these funds are released?
Well, it may not be by design, but we work with the results. We don't care what the initial processes are. The result is what we will use to make our own judgments. And from what we can see, they have clearly misled the people. Whether that's what they wanted to achieve in the initial. But clearly they have misled Nigerians.
Interesting, because soon after the announcement, these presidential spokesmen were everywhere trying to explain the nitty-gritty of that deal and how that would translate to stability and bring the much-needed supply to the market. And the questions that were asked at the time was, if this was a deal by a supposed private company, how does that impact the market in a whole? Because you are not CBN, you are neither Ministry of Finance. So I think the government was just running away from the idea of saying they were the ones who went to borrow $3 billion to tie it to crude sales, which proceeds are supposed to return to the Consolidated Federation account. So in a sense, it is the 36 states that are borrowing through the instrumentality of the NNPC. Another story that was painful and shocking yesterday was the revelation by the Nigerian Railway Corporation's MD. The revenue had dropped on the Kaduna-Abuja Railway from a whopping 500 million monthly to just under 1 million monthly. And that was the reason why the minister arrived there and met guards who had not been paid for 5 months, sweepers, escalators down, unserviceable, and all of that. What's happening to us as a country? This is us complaining about rising cost of food because of the increasing cost of transportation. This would have been able to serve some need. Imagine we could connect Kano to Abuja, for instance, on a rail, because the Kano to Kaduna axis is practically almost complete. If we could run this stretch and take out all those trailers from that road that we keep repairing every other year, and translate that into cost of food, probably would have been able to moderate prices around this belt. I'm not sure what will happen going up south. Why has it become impossible for government agencies to manage what ordinarily should be a profitable enterprise?
Well, I think it's good to say that generally Nigerians are no longer, traveling the way they used to. So many factors are actually responsible for the drop in the revenue. For instance, if before the attack by bandits, where they abducted a number of passengers, so many people were using the train to travel. But right now, because of that, so many people have, found alternatives. And then also, even what it takes to go to the train stations at the moment, sometimes you spend up to 4,000 naira, especially if you are using the
Edo terminal.
So that's a big problem. Even if you take the road, people are no longer traveling the way they used to. And even the frequency of the trains, they have reduced them. We used to have 5 trips in a day. Now we have only 2.
Either way.
That
would be 10 in total.
In a day. So now we have only 2. In fact, on Wednesdays, you have only 1. Wow. So I don't expect us to be able to make the same money that we have been making in the past. And the problem with that is the fact that we borrowed money, to get this trains running. And if we are not able to make money from it, then how will we be able to also
repay them?
And
but there's also the insecurity question, isn't it? Which I think is a principal factor as to why there is a significant drop. I mean, there are other variables attached to it, but also recently we heard that the DSS is also sounding the alarm about a possible train attack yet again. And people have been traumatized, are still traumatized to date about what happened with the last Kaduna train attack, where the abductions were, all over the headlines. And we still have people today who are still trying to recover from that horrific experience. What does this administration need to do, especially from its posturing in trying to, jumpstart the economy domestically, make all the significant changes to how things are being done? What do they need to do to reassure Nigerians that it's safer to travel by these trains? Because even if they fix them, there's still that apprehension and anxiety about traveling by train. I mean, even away from the cost, what it will cost you to get to the train station and then travel using the train, there's also that, overarching thought in Nigerians' mind about the anxiety of traveling by train and whether or not it is safe to actually do that, even after the government has paid Al-Ali Security Network 400 million to guarantee the safety of those trains.
Well, from what I was able to observe, the DSS advisory did not affect like the patronage, so to say. And you can even see they were not happy when the story was leaked, because if we are to leak all the reports, all the advisories that the DSS will give to government ministries and institutions, then a day may come that we will not even be able to leave our homes. But because this is something that is made for your own internal consumption, so that you make your own arrangement without, creating unnecessary panic. And that's what the leaking of that story almost achieved. But like I said, if you go to the train stations, based on what we have, been seeing, I didn't see any dramatic change, in the number of passengers going to use the train and all that. But like you said, we are talking about security here. If people don't feel secured, if they don't feel safe, honestly, they wouldn't even be out on the streets. Like you can see, anytime you move about, it looks like a public holiday.
Absolutely.
People are no longer, you know, traveling the way they used to, and it has to do with the security and then even our ability to afford
disposable income.
Yeah,
obviously.
One of my editors called it an economic depression, social depression. The next story is one that you're not sure how you feel about it. In the days gone by, it used to be the superpowers poaching our finest brains, the US, the Australias, and the Canadas, lately Saudi Arabia. And now it is, what's it called? Gambia. You know, and who knows, tomorrow it will be Cameroon, offering quadruple of what we are willing to pay in this system. And the CMD is sounding the alarms. We are losing hands to these clients who are willing to pay anything for the kind of professionals that we have. And we're already battling with shortages in our systems already. What exactly do we need to do to check this? Because you can't stop people from moving where there is a $4,000 in the offing.
Because we have not been able to, we don't consider them like valuable, so to say. Because if we do that, at least we'll make their, we'll make the environment where they operate conducive, and then they will also be able to make enough to take care of their basic needs at least. But that's not the case. So many doctors, you know, all the allowances that they talk about, so many things, they don't get them here in Nigeria. But because other countries have now seen the value, you know, if Nigerians are respected across the globe, in Europe, in the United Kingdom, for instance, then Africa will also key into it and be able to develop their own societies, because you can see even judges, you know, Nigeria sometimes help countries like Gambia and what have you with judges, because they don't even have enough. So maybe if you remember what is it the former Labour Minister Ngige said, that we had
too many doctors,
that some of them should go into tailoring and what have you. But you can see when in reality, even if we have enough, it's not showing in the system.
You know, the doctor to patient ratio is further being diminished, so to say, because the more the doctors leave, the more the burden increases on the ones who are still lagging behind. And just yesterday, I think dentists in Abuja are going on a 3-day warning strike, because some of them have been, some of their members have been apparently being laid off because of, you know, not being tenured or things like that. Do you think that the conditions are becoming a lot more difficult for professionals like this to operate within the Nigerian system itself, because they feel underappreciated, but beyond that also, they also feel devalued because of the welfare package?
Clearly, that's the case, because nobody wants to leave his country under normal circumstances. You know, where you are in tune with the culture, the people, the environment, and what have you. But you also have to exist. We also have to live. You know, and to do that, we need to make enough money. And if you are not able to make money in the country of your birth, then you have to.
I suppose it's safe to say that if Malam Nasir got offered this kind of...
I stole those thoughts from my mouth. I want to see which country is offering $5,000 for journalism.
How many of us would turn it down?
No.
All right, that's the much we can take from Malam Nasir. I would have loved that he quickly gave us his thought around websites bearing former heads, because he did one of the initial stories whilst editor here in the Daily Trust of us. So many government websites were moribund, one of our classics, if you like, and this is just a follow-up on that development, something that needs to, you know, quickly change about our attitude to updating government website. Thank you very much for being part of this conversation. Today has been explosive and entertaining, and I'm very sure you've drawn great value from all the conversations that have taken place on our platform, and would continue to bring your way on the stables of Trust TV. Let's keep a date tomorrow. I am Sunday Michael Ogo.
My name is Abdullah Ahmed. Thank you very much for your time and company. We'll see you next time. Good morning.